Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by TheLines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast, and we are looking at NBA best bets to close out the work week here. We got a Friday slate, a couple teams on a back-to-back, few injury reports that are keeping us from just hammering a few different bets here, but we are finding some value. So definitely want to make sure to follow along, subscribe to that page. We've got play-up props up in a separate episode for you, so don't miss any of the action. We're bringing you all NBA season. Rough night in the best bets last night, but did do well in the play-up props. So we will take a what are we here? 3 and 5 for the night. A couple of units still up on the week, so we'll look to make it back here on Friday and close it out with a couple wins here for you guys. So let's jump into your first play here, Nate.
Yeah, we do have a plus money parlay or two here, and my plus money play last night was the Wolves money line. It is now even money, but I'll still take it here with the Warriors on a back-to-back. I know Steph and Draymond are expected back. I think Wiggins still questionable though. And the rest of the team, of course, is on a back-to-back here. So even though they righted the ship, they snapped the skid against the Rockets last night. I like the way the Wolves are playing right now. Yeah. Also, I think it's better to fade a team after they snap their losing streak than if the Warriors had come in here on a 6-game losing streak in a game against a heated matchup against the Wolves, who tend to bring out some fire in people, but. True. The Wolves have had their number, right? Last 6, 5-1 for the Wolves, holding the Warriors to a 105 offensive rating, not even shutting down Steph necessarily. I mean, he's been 28.5 points, pretty inefficient for him. He's been plus 21 when he's on the floor, and they're still mostly L's, So it's like, even if he comes back and is that spark for an offense that's pretty dreadful without him, him and Draymond, definitely, it did not look good last night, but they were able to grind it out with their defense. I don't think they necessarily pull away from these Wolves. And I mean, what the Wolves have been able to do is limit assists by far. They when they've turned the corner here, they're allowing the fewest assists per game by 5 right now, also forcing 20 turnovers to those 17 assists. And this is a Warriors offense that's been heavily dependent on assists, especially now with Steph having no running mate. Right. I mean, he's got to be able to kick it out of there and get the ball swinging and get those secondary assists. And I just don't think it'll be here against the Wolves. On the other end, they've gone 3-0. They since getting Mike Conley back, they have the highest assist to field goal ratio. They're also scoring the 3rd most points off turnovers, and they're also the number 1 3-point defense. So everything you need to be able to limit this Warriors team. And then they're not on a back-to-back, as I mentioned. Warriors are. The Wolves 21-3 last season when they had that rest advantage, getting into people, but actually those games went over, which indicates to me that the offense actually benefited from a little extra rest. And I mean, they've won 3 straight games on the back of their defense. It's just been absolutely lights out in some good spots. But here's another good spot, like in terms of the rest advantage. So let's keep trying to take the Wolves and as they try to get this thing right.
Yeah, not a bad spot for them. Obviously, like Draymond and Steph being rested is impactful, but I don't know that that's necessarily enough to just make me say that the Dubs completely turned things around. It was definitely a nice win for them on Thursday night. They really, really needed it. I don't really know what's going on with that Houston team either, so I want to take that with a slight grain of salt. And you take Steph out. This is twice in a row now that this Warriors team has beaten them without Steph. So something going on there for sure, with maybe Kerr having Udoka's number or something. I don't want to put too much stock in that and say they're entirely back. It was a different iteration of their team, and we'll see if this Wolves team is for real about this resurgence that they had since Ant kind of called out that maybe these guys aren't really like playing with too much chemistry, right? And he sort of called it out, and in my opinion, he was calling out a couple guys named Dante DiVincenzo and a few others just for pouting and stuff like that. So we'll see if that turnaround continues for them after they did pick up that win. But I'm going to go over to Indy and Chicago. I do think that Indy is going to be a little bit better than they've been. I mean, it's hard to be bad against Chicago, but you correctly pointed out, I think the best play is the under at 248.5. Like, we got to come back to reality here, yo. How many of these games are hitting 250? What do we do? I know that both these teams play fast, and I know that neither of them are playing very good defense. Chicago, you could argue, is not playing defense, but this is still a situation where it's like 250, and it's really about the regression of the Indy offense, and maybe this is a get right spot for their offense in certain ways, but they're still dealing with injuries to key guys like Nembhard, And obviously, we still have Neesmith and Isaiah Jackson out as well. So there's not really like this team is back to sort of full strength and having all its guns. And it's really more important for this team than most when they play like 7 dudes 20 plus minutes, right? Like, and there's really nobody playing more than 31, 32 minutes or so. Sometimes Halliburton and Benny Matz and Miles Turner will play like 35 if there's nobody else in. But either way, they're sliding 4 in a row that they lost, 3-7 in their last 10. They've got the 23rd ranked offensive rating in that time now. Still playing at fourth in that fourth fastest pace, but the Bulls are getting back on defense at least enough to be able to limit the transition stuff that Indy wants to do. Both these teams want to get out in transition, and I think that's going to be a pretty big a focal point for both defenses as well. Kobe White, not sure if he's going to play in this one. Would love him not to be honest with you, just because Ayo Dosunmu is a beast. Triple-double for him last night. On the free Ayo is kind of where I'm at right now with the way, like, you have dudes doing all the same stuff. You have this Swiss Army knife that's available to you to play 30 to 35 minutes a game, and you choose not to use him because you want more shooting and offense. I wish Billy Donovan would switch that up and give Ayo a legit chance, but he should have one either way. Played so well last night. I don't know how you keep him out of the lineup. The thing for Indy, too, is like they're not getting threes. They are driving to the paint pretty well. They are 7th in their last 10 during the skid in points in the paint. But surprisingly, Chicago, while they're giving up a decent amount of points in the paint overall, their opponent field goal percentage in the paint is bad. They're still actually in the top 10 in opponent field goal percentage inside the paint in their last 10 as well. And I'm not going to really give too much credit to Vooch here, but you have seen a few other guys come in and date like Terry and Julian Phillips and a couple guys that are actually a bit better on defense and longer and rangier than most of the guys that they've been throwing out there for really the last couple seasons. But you look at the strength of schedule during this skid for the Pacers, it's really wild, man. They can't score against Brooklyn, Toronto. Memphis is a good D. Detroit, underrated D. Portland, a shell of the Pelicans. Wizards. Bucks defense, Houston good, Toronto bad. I count 2 good defenses in there out of the 10, and they couldn't score more than roughly like 112 points per game in that time frame as a team that's selling out to be that way on offense. So yeah, I mean, the last thing here, on the road, they have legit home road splits, 109 points per game when they're on the road this season versus 118 at home. And that's been the case for them too. They're not maybe as much of a disparity, between their home road splits as maybe like a Utah, but they're there and they've been there and they continue to do that here where they're thriving off the crowd at home and playing much faster on the road. It just has not been the case for them.
Yeah, I mean, everything about this total indicates you need the Pacers to light it up because the Bulls, they're going to have tired legs coming back from San Antonio. The Bulls on back-to-back score 117, which is low for them this season, but they give up 127. So you're saying like, all right, the Pacers are going to carry this over. Their team total is up at 125.5. We haven't seen anything to indicate that on the road. Like if they prove it to us, kudos, we'll adjust. But right now, like Halliburton has been one of the least efficient players in the league when he's on the road. It's just night and day, and then that offense just crumbles when he's not cooking. So yeah, definitely like the zag there on a really, really high total after the Bulls. Yeah, they got there last night, but it's not going to happen every time out. Let me take the Hawks team total here as they host the Lakers. It is 117. As the spread continues to grow, it might have to go up to 118 because people are fading the Lakers. And look, I don't know how the Lakers are going to respond. The reason I'm not taking the game total here, which I do still like at 230, if you can get it there, is because the Lakers' 4th game of a road trip in 6 nights, very short rest, fresh off just getting absolutely embarrassed in Miami. So we'll see how they respond. Like they could come back out and be competitive here and score, but they can't stop anybody. Like they are an atrocious defensive team right now, especially with Austin Reeves, like we mentioned, still kind of hobbled. He's supposed to be one of their key wing defenders. Now facing a pretty hot Hawks team. In that last game against Miami, they allowed Miami to go from 20th to 12th in offensive rating on the season by posting a season record 140 rating. So that's what we're talking about for a Heat offense that was really struggling to just come out there and cook them. Look, so maybe they come along for the ride here, but I don't know. They could just pack it in. The last time they were on a long road trip, the Lakers gave up 131 in Memphis without Anthony Davis, no John Morant on the other side there, and no Desmond Bane. It was just the Memphis, the boys, the backup boys coming in there. Hawks, we've touted their defense for a while, so that is why this spread is growing here. Nice defense in the last 5. the offense is still there when they need it. And when Bogey's been in there, they have 5 games with Bogdanovich in the lineup, averaging 123 a game and 117 plus in all of those games. The one game he sat against Charlotte, they only scored 107. He's going to be key here against the Lakers perimeter defense. That is duty. Trey, distributing, also should be able to eat on the perimeter. They have the second highest fast break percentage, highest points of the paint percentage, and fourth highest assist rate in this 5-game streak here. And the highest assist rate belongs to the Miami Heat, thanks in part to that outlier against the Lakers. I like the Hawks, who average this number at home on the season, despite shooting just 33% from deep. That should go up against this Lakers team, and they should just cook these guards, which everybody has been doing against the Lakers.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know what to do with the Lakers. I mean, it seems like their season was predicated on AD just sort of dominating everything everywhere. And if he's not putting up 28 to 30 points, they do not look like a formidable squad. It's just that simple. And I don't know. I don't want to call the demise of LeBron James. I don't want to be the one to do it. I'm not saying that like this is it. This is the year that I think we finally see that downtick. I mean, it's hard to deny it. He hasn't made a three in a long time at this point. We know what's going on. So I think that if they're still relying on those two guys to be it, no. But we both pinpointed last game too. I believe that the Hawks playing a little bit better on defense, a little bit better, just enough better on defense right now. They're not the worst, right? You point that out, and that's huge. So let me get over to probably the game of the night, right? We got Milwaukee and Boston. It kind of seems like whenever they play, it's the game of the night. And when Milwaukee is good, it's the game of the night. And they are in a good spot. We've got Chris Middleton coming back. Welcome back, Chris. Didn't know when we were going to see you, bud, but we got you back. Don't know how much that's going to impact things in 20-ish minutes for him tonight, but it'll be good to have him back, a little bit of a lift. I still think the bet here that you brought up, and I think it's a good look, is the Celtics money line. And I like the Celtics to win. I consider the Celtics minus 7.5, and that thing keeps rising as well, to be honest. But once you get to like 8.5 too, I'm just like, oh, that round number is kind of gross. But the money line with an over at 227. Plus 145, is that what that gets you? Shop that around, obviously. Use your parlay calculators. But yeah, I think it's got bet down. So we get a little bit of value here to go back over 227.5 after it was opened at about 231.5. First thing I'll bring up that we both want to talk about is Jaylen Brown and coming out and just getting back at Giannis for his comments. It was childish, whatever he was talking about. Then Nike gets in on the action and is tweeting at Jaylen Brown on behalf of Giannis. And JB's like, y'all got weird energy, man. And I got to agree, like big time, I'm on Jaylen Brown's side. What the hell are you guys doing? I hope he comes out and smacks him. He's at 25.5 points. And we just saw him have an awesome game without Tatum and basically be Tatum in that game, also putting up 9 assists. I think he's going to go crazy as well, too. I think like a PRA bet for him, maybe like a first quarter bet, the way that we saw them just give Jaylen Brown all the touches in that one game where it was like his uncle was in the crowd and they just kept feeding him for the whole first half of the first quarter. And he got like the first 15 points for that team. I could see that look here for the Celtics as well. I know that's a little bit of conjecture, but I do think they're going to want to get him going early. Either way, for the Bucks, they're a little bit back, at least on offense, especially with Dame and Giannis cooking together now after we saw them really, really struggle to start the season. Dame got hurt, has been back now for like 7 games, and in those 7 games has been a monster alongside Giannis, who has sort of filled in when he had to be honest. And I like the way that Giannis is allowing Dame to work and then just going like, I can find my spots. I'll be more efficient than I've been in the past. And so you see their offensive rating going up over the course of the last roughly like 7 games or so. They're back up to averaging about $120 on the season over the course of those last 7 games. And that's usually what they average with Chris Middleton out there. Once again, not going to put too much stock into it, but I do think he helps the offense a lot more than he will the defense if he's hobbling around out there, but he's still able to make those pull-up jump shots. That will be really helpful because they've lacked that, and they've had to play a lot of AJ Green because they haven't found shooting outside of when Chris is out there with them. So that's going to be huge as just one more shooter that can find his own shot. If you look at the defense for them, still meh for the Bucks. And I will say that like the Celtics, still very good defense, obviously still on the season top 10, actually 10 exactly now, which is actually a little bit lower than it's been. So they are giving up a little bit more on D. And I think the places that it's going to be crucial here is above the break more than anything. That's also why I like Dame and the Chris stuff, is that it's been the case for the Celtics for a while, which is above the break, they're a little bit weaker. Kristaps being in there gives them a little bit more of that rim protection, but we know they're still going to sell out on Giannis and build that wall at the foul line and probably up his assist numbers, to be honest, which I think the books are onto because they've got those juiced up to like 5.5, almost 6.5 in some places. But I think the threes are going to be there for them. I think the corner threes are also going to be there, which the Celtics are allowing as well, which is going to help for guys like Green or Connaughton or even Bobby P when they're out there with a Chris Middleton. They're pushed down into the corners. At least you have better shooters now down there. You're not going to see as much Andre Jackson shooting from those corners. You're going to have some threes there. I don't need to tell you how good this Celtics offense is. They're going to have the full lineup of guys. They're going to be taking 45 threes in this game, probably making close to 20 of them. So yeah, I think they're going to win this game. I think it's going to be a little bit closer than the like 9 to 10 points that we're starting to get now. So I'm out, but I think this is like a 5-point Celtics win in a pretty high scoring game.
Yeah, exactly. The books know what they're doing, man. The Celtics, they're 87% win percentage since last year at home, only 52% covering. So, like, they know how to set this line so that it's almost a 50-50 proposition. Would not be surprised if the Bucks find a way to hang around. This is the third and final meeting already between these teams that fancy each other in the playoffs, that have some bad blood, as you mentioned, from Giannis doing the stupid fake handshake. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the Celtics come out just looking to kill them. Like they did on opening night. Like we've seen a couple times from the Celtics when they actually really get up for a game and just absolutely blow doors off people and could score 135 here. But I think the Bucks are playing well enough now and they will have enough pride to hang in the game. So I think over is definitely the look here, and I would definitely lean to the Celtics winning at home, of course. Maybe they rest a guy or two, maybe Horford, because they do have a home back-to-back here, but then they have 4 days off after that. So yeah, I like the look.
And who are they playing tomorrow night for the
Memphis.
C's? Okay, yeah, so they still got to care, but I do think they've been resting guys up to this point over the last 4 games for this game, right? When you look at the schedule and who they were playing before that, knowing that
and we identified that the Bucks were gonna fall in Atlanta because they were looking ahead to it.
Yep, loved that bet as well, and that I'm liking this slate a lot more tonight. Hopefully, we get everybody in the lineups, but that's all the time we have for you in Best Bets. Make sure you're subscribed to that page so you can check out the Play of Props episode we have up alongside this one each and every weekday this season. And until we see you next, happy betting.